Monday morning, everyone, on what looks to be a typical hot and humid and possibly a little bit stormy summer day. I hope this finds you well and that you're living your best life in Jesus Christ. You know, most people who know me tend to think of me as a cautious man. And you know what? That's no accident. As a creative person, I learned early in life that often I have an inspiration and I would dive in head first without considering any of the consequences. Although these often worked out more often than not, there were many that any objective person would label with words like disaster or catastrophe, or what I consider the worst of them, complete and utter failure. I have attempted to learn from my mistakes and blunders, as most of us do, by becoming more circumspect in the way I approach risky things in general. Although I still like big ideas and I love to try new things to achieve goals, I have allowed and tried to allow the Lord to temper my enthusiasm and impatience with a sense of prudence and wisdom. However, I have tried also to never let that sense of caution overwhelm my need to do bold things for the Lord. I often feel as though we're somehow afraid of taking risks as a Christian and as a church. Sometimes we'll only seem to take a step of faith if there's a backup plan, if there's a safety net. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for caution, a place for prudence, a place for getting experts, a place for seeking the counsel of those who have lived longer than we have. That's certainly important. But having said that, there's also a place for simple faith. There's a place for taking chances and a place for taking risks. Let's be honest, as we get older, we are less willing to do that. We want everything laid out for us. We want to know what will happen if this or after that. And if we're not careful, we allow that spirit of caution to hold us back, both as individuals and a church. And not to mention that often we get into that mindset and it becomes, let's call it what it is, a spirit of fear. And the thing is, the Lord doesn't explain things to us. We want everything to be ironclad, but sometimes the Lord will just say, I'm not going to tell you. I want you to just do what I tell you to. I want you to just obey me. And that's why I personally would rather try something and fail than never try at all. And if you do try and you ultimately fail, then you have a choice to learn something from your failure that will move you forward. You might just learn that in order to achieve a long-term goal, you have to, as a friend of mine puts it, sift through the ashes of a few failures. Often I will have the Lord give me a sermon that I know is going to be hard to preach and hard to hear. And yet I have learned to go ahead and preach it, trusting that God will achieve His goals in spite of whether I think it's a failure or not. It took me a while as a young pastor to not try to play it safe, but to trust in Him and His wisdom. We all know that any person who's been successful in any endeavor, ministry, business, or anything, has had more than his share of failures and has learned something from every one of them. And yet we act as though failure is the worst thing in the world, as though we need to have some sort of, as I call it, the golden safety net before we make any decision. Ironically, folks don't understand that we have just that. We have a safety net. His name is Jesus Christ. He has our back, and He will make sure our failures, well, sometimes painful, and, learning experiences will bring us to a better life with Him and a more trusting and faithful attitude. This is why Paul in Romans 8:28 assures us that we know all things work together for good for them that love the Lord, to them who are called according to His purpose. So, if at first you don't succeed, relax. You're human. You're just like the rest of us. Take a chance. Do something for God. If you have been thinking about starting a little Bible study at work and you're not sure anyone would show up, go for it. I mean, in my case, I'm going to have a quilting circle. And if by some chance you're thinking of sharing the gospel with someone, but you don't know how they'd respond, go for it. Try it. Pray about it. Ask the Lord for direction, but take the risk. Take a chance here and there and watch what God will do when you do things in His name. Trust me, it's worth it. I hope you make today a fantastic day. I want you to know that I'm here should you need me, and I love you all.